So WWDC 2022 just happened today. It was quite a jam-packed and long event, coming in at a whopping 1 hour and 51 minutes in length. As expected, it was mainly a software event with the announcement of iOS and iPadOS 16, watchOS 9, macOS 13 Ventura, and more. Apple has also announced a few new hardware, including new processors and MacBooks. And yes, I did install these betas on my own devices and will be making videos about them, but this one is just a recap of the event itself. So let's start off with iOS 16, which is quite a major update. Arguably the most major one since iOS 14. It completely transformed and redesigned the lock screen, giving users the ability to customize the font, color, and style of the clock, and the ability to add widgets to the lock screen, like Apple Watch watch faces. A new wallpaper gallery, rumored since the release of iOS 13, was also finally added. There were also updates to iMessage, adding an edit and end feature. There were some minor updates to My Apps, such as multi-stop routing. Focus modes also work on a per-app basis now. And you can now share photos on a group iCloud photo library. The Mail app has also gotten features that have been present in other email clients and services for years, such as an undo send and scheduled send feature. Live text now works in more places, even in videos. There's also tons of minor features that I'm not going to cover here, but rather in a separate video coming soon that's specifically focused on iOS 16, which I already have installed on my daily driver, my one and only iPhone 13. It's probably a dumb idea, but I did it anyways. It's supported by the iPhone 8 and newer devices, sadly dropping support for the now 7 years old iPhone 6s and the original iPhone SE, ending the era of headphone jack iPhones. It also surprisingly dropped the iPhone 7 too. Now, iPadOS 16 received the same updates and new features as iOS 16, plus some bonus features. A major one is true multi-window support with Stage Manager, which is basically just a fancy window manager, and true external display support alongside it. It's only available on M1 iPads though, like the iPad Pro and the iPad Air. And hey, it finally has a weather app now. Still no calculator app though. Maybe they'll add it in iPadOS 20? I don't even know. Just like iOS 16, it dropped support for most A8 and A9 powered devices, dropping support for the now 8 years old iPad Air 2, and newer devices such as the iPad Mini 4. Surprisingly enough, the iPad 5, which is an A9 powered device, is still supported, and so does all of the A10 powered iPads, even though Apple dropped iPhone with those processors from running iOS 16. So that's pretty weird. watchOS 9 is not quite as significant of an update as iOS, although that is to be expected, as what is there to update on the Apple Watch anyways? Final Cut Pro on Apple Watch? Although it definitely is an update, as it does have some major new features, such as major updates to the Workouts app, with support for custom workouts and new information and diagrams you can now view during workouts. There is also a new app that can remind you to take your medications. Sleep tracking can now detect stages, like if you're in like the shallow sleep stage or the deep sleep stage. I don't know what they're called. And there are some new watch faces and some updates to existing watch faces. There's this new playtime watch face. Honestly, I don't even know what the fuck this is. It has also dropped the 5 years old Apple Watch Series 3. And the absurd thing is that Apple still, for some reason, sells this outdated, unsupported, and old piece of shit for $200 brand new on their website. Now, macOS 13, which is named Ventura, I predicted it to be named Tahoe and said I will literally film myself screaming if they did. They did not, so I don't have to do a stupid thing, I guess. It visually doesn't look that much different from Big Sur and Monterey, but it did bring some important new features and changes, such as the Stage Manager feature I talked about earlier. It also gained the ability to share your tab groups in Safari, and now you can use your iPhone camera as your Mac's webcam, which is nice and enables many features such as portrait lightings on FaceTime calls and Zoom meetings, and other web conference calls. It also got most of the new in-app features of iOS and iPadOS 16, like the iMessage updates I talked about earlier. And yes, it sadly did drop support for some older Macs, such as all of the older Retina MacBook Pros, and even the original Touch Bar MacBook Pro, and all pre-2018 MacBook Airs. So yeah, that's a lot of devices drop. But you can always just use a patcher to get your unsupported Mac to the newest version of macOS with minimal problems and caveats, which is what I've been doing for the past 2 years. I have actually made a video about how to do that, and I will update the video once a patcher for Ventura comes out. Now, tvOS, actually I'm not gonna even talk about it. In addition to software, this event has also surprised us with some new hardware too. Apple has officially announced their new generation of Apple Silicon chips, the M2, which is still 5 nanometers, but now has slightly more powerful performance cores, 10 GPU cores, and up to 24 gigabytes of unified memory, compared to the M1's 8 GPU cores and 16 gigabytes of maximum memory. The first devices to get those new chips are the redesigned MacBook Air, which now features a larger and more color-accurate 13.6-inch display, and it now looks just like a 2021 MacBook Pro, complete with the notch, but like 2 times thinner. Sadly, the wedge design is now gone. The 13-inch MacBook Pro also got the new M2 processor, but the design stayed exactly the same, so the Touch Bar lives on for another year, I guess. No Mac Pro, sadly. So this is basically all that was announced at today's WWDC, which was quite jam-packed, down to a video that's just 7 minutes long. Make sure to subscribe so you won't miss my upcoming in-depth iOS 16 coverage. Also leave a like if you found this video helpful or interesting. Thank you guys so much for watching, and bye!